Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Nate Maxon here with you, along this week, of course, by my venerable co-hosts, Mr. Archie Mitchell.
What's up, everybody?
And my brother, Aaron.
What's up, bitches?
And this evening, as we record the show, just really quick, I wanted to say... let me see what today's Friday as we record the show. So yesterday we found out the news that the greatest tag team wrestler of all time passed away. Bobby Eaton, beautiful yes. Bobby Eaton, a terrible loss for the world and for professional wrestling. And I posted in our group that essentially, you know, there's been a lot of great tag team wrestlers and a lot of great tag teams, but there was only one greatest tag team wrestler. And in my opinion, that was beautiful Bobby Eaton. And from all accounts, from anybody you've ever talked to, anyone you ever heard from, one of the nicest, kindest. Nobody had a bad thing to say about Bobby Eaton. You know, I mean, just what a performer and what a loss.
And he is, not to discredit you or whatever, but he's like, you know, when people say like A1, A2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Like these guys are interchangeable to being like the top guys. He's my A1, A2 of tag team wrestling. Right at like you could interchange him and Owen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that also speaks to the fact that like with Owen, they say you never heard a bad thing said about the guy, and that speaks to the fact of a great tag team partner is an unselfish human being, and right. Bobby Eaton was an unselfish wrestler.
Very unselfish.
No fucking problem putting anybody over or doing whatever.
And I mean, you look at the teams he was in. Obviously, the Midnight Express with both Dennis Condrey and Stan Lane. Yep. You have the team Bobby Eaton and Arn Anderson. In the Dangerous Alliance. Well, he had he also teamed with Austin some, but he's more associated with Arn Anderson in that team. The Blue Bloods with Steve Regal. What a tag team.
Bad attitude with Steve Kearns.
Yeah.
Him and Coco.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
in the front.
It's a guy that Ric Flair was like, I want to work with that guy.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to work with him.
You hear the word tag team specialist get thrown around about just about anybody nowadays. You know, he can work with anybody. Bobby Eaton made everybody shine, and he didn't care if it came at his expense. Two different occasions that show that is one, when Jim Cornette and Stan Lane walked out on NWA, WCW, and Bobby still had time left on his contract. Bobby was ready to go. He's like, Jim, what do we do? Let's go. I'm with you guys. And Jim was like, no, you got a family. You got a contract still for 6 months. You stay here and do your thing. And he was like, you sure? You know, and then another time with, again, the Midnight Express, when Jim called Bobby to ask permission to use the name for Bart Gunn and Bob Holly, Bobby Eaton was like, hey, Jim, you created that. That's up to you. You want to use it? Go ahead. You have my permission. He was a giving person to the end.
Mm-hmm. And Aaron, to something that Aaron said to mention Flair again, I think I'm a member of a couple of historical society Facebook groups. I can't remember which one it was, but one of the historians in one of the groups the other day posted that at one of the conventions, Steve Keirn, during a speech, said that the greatest professional he said to him the greatest professional wrestler of all time was Bobby Eaton. And the guy that posted this said the first person that stood up to clap for that statement was Ric Flair.
Ric Flair, yep.
So, I mean, that, you know, again, speaks volumes to the talent and the man that was Bobby Eaton. And we raise a frosty beverage to the memory of beautiful Bobby. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Bobby.
Our hearts out to Bill Dundee as well, who has lost both his daughter and his son-in-law in that she was married to Bobby. She passed away a few months ago. And then Bobby this past week. So, anything else on that, guys, before we get on to something positive?
Godspeed, Bobby.
Yes, sir.
Amen.
Well, as you know, I'll do one more thing here real quick, and then Archie. It's Archie. Archie's the man this week. It's his show, but we are going to be October 2nd, Heroes and Legends Wrestling, the convention, and tickets are on sale now. If you are going to be in the Fort Wayne, Indiana area in October, Heroes and Legends Wrestling.com. Go get your tickets. Come out to see the We Can't Wrestle podcast there. Maybe you'll be on the show.
That would be fun.
I'll be selling for $1 autographed by myself pictures of Joey Mags.
Yes. And also I will be sending Aaron things to give away for free. I will be autographing pictures of Hard Work Bobby Walker. So, but those will be free. If you buy Aaron's Joey Mag picture, you get the Bobby Walker picture for free.
And I will be autographing 8x10 pictures of Archie Mitchell. So there you go.
Damn it. Those get $5.
Provocative poses.
Yes. Those get $5 though.
Mr. October has a secret.
And it's in his bum.
Well, all right.
You guys ever see Chuck and Larry? Remember the fireman
yes.
calendar? That's every picture is me in a different month in a fireman's outfit.
Well, we always keep it classy here at the We Can't Wrestle podcast.
Yes.
But we're going to get into the meat of the matter here. We are doing our dream rosters last week. Aaron presented us with his roster from 1989, which we all heralded as such a fantastic roster.
It was.
Right.
Great work as usual.
Yeah.
And this now week, I'm fast forwarding 10 years into the future.
This week, Archie is regaling us with his roster, and he chose the year 1998.
Yes, 9 years after Aaron's roster.
Flush with talent in 98.
Oh, yeah. It was hard to pick. I had to chop a few guys off the roster.
A big year in wrestling with the rise of Stone Cold, the NWO really hot, Goldberg coming up, Degeneration X, a lot of stuff going on in 1998, and a lot, like you said, a lot of talent to choose from in their prime, too. A lot of guys in their prime during this time. So I'm fascinated to see where you go with this, Archie.
Well, I'm sorry to say there is not a single NWO member on my roster. But I kind of felt like they were busy in WCW, so I didn't want to bother them. Archie's
show is not provided by the New World
Order. Right. So to start us off, I decided to pick from the main three rosters of the big three promotions in the United States, that being ECW, WWF, and WCW. And this is in no particular order, except for starting with ECW and then working my way back. So the first man I picked up, he was a fantastic singles wrestler, former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, former Tag Team Champion in the WWF, and a former ECW Tag Team Champion as well. Spent a little time in Smoky Mountain as well. I am picking up No Gimmicks Needed, Chris Candido.
All right. A great pull.
Chris was on fire in 98 in ECW, having great matches with Lance Storm and even Mikey Whipwreck. And that's not a shot at Mikey, but I mean, Chris was pretty much fighting everybody on the roster. And I think using a little trick from Aaron, if I pick up Chris, that means I get Tammy as well.
And you just went for the jugular right away.
Yeah.
Your entire roster picture up.
Most. Second on that list, keeping with the ECW theme.
Are you?
Sorry. In 98, Chris was ripped to the gills, man.
Yeah, he was.
Like he was short, but he was fucking ripped.
He used to do moves in that ring that you don't see anybody do nowadays. That top rope powerbomb was unbelievable.
He was like I said, he was chiseled as fuck. I know he was only like 5'9" or whatever, but god damn.
And he could go. It wasn't just like a 10-minute match. That guy could have stayed in that ring 30 minutes if you wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
and had great matches.
Are you using him as a heel or a face?
Well, that's what my next two picks are going to be about.
Okay.
I am using him as a heel because my second pick is a former ECW World and World Television Champion, as well as WCW Hardcore Champion, the Beast from the East, Bam Bam Bigelow.
You can't go wrong with Bammer.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
Arguably, I mean, the debate always comes up. To me, he's my favorite big man wrestler of all time. I'm not going to say to anybody else that he's the greatest. It is what it is. It's all personal preference. But if I have a year that I have Bam Bam Bigelow available, he's going to be on my roster too.
Definitely.
And the thing about him is he's versatile in that you can put Bammer in there with, say, and I'm just pulling a name out here, thinking of 98. You can put Bammer in there with John Tenta.
Right.
Or you can put him in there with Bret Hart. And either way, you're going to get a good match.
Oh, yeah.
And you can put him in there as a face or a heel. And, right. I mean, he doesn't get enough credit for as good as he was.
Well, see, that's the thing. When it comes to Bam Bam, I don't want to say he's my absolute favorite, but he is right up there with Vader. It's Bam Bam and Vader. And watching them in New Japan made it even better because you got them fighting each other and then them teaming together, which was like unbelievable.
Right.
So, and he's from Jersey, as is Candido. So, my company is going to be based solely in New Jersey, except for when we have big shows and have to go for like pay-per-views. So
you're gonna do big shows in that place in Cherry Hill?
Yes, yes. And I'm hiring the two announcers from the NWA show.
Oh, you gotta hire that. You gotta hire that fucking ring announcer too. That goofy looking bastard. It looked like the guy that does the 12 to 6 a.m. radio shift.
Any thoughts on Bam Bam, Aaron?
Bam Bam's a good pull, and like Nate said, you can do whatever you want with him.
Right.
Whatever you put him into, he's gonna fucking perform.
My third pick, filling out this trio. I'm sure you understand where I'm going with this.
Mm-hmm.
Former WCW United States and Tag Team Champion. Former ECW World and World Television Champion. And he was a stand-in for the World Tag Team Champions when Johnny Gunn got hurt. He's a former dynamic dude, former school teacher when he was known as Dean. The franchise Shane Douglas is rounding out the triple threat in my company.
He's moved on from being in the Dungeon Dudes at this point.
Right.
Back in '89 when he was in the Dungeon Dudes. So he's gotten rid of the BDSM gimmick, and he's now in a Jersey triad. Well, I guess he's not from Jersey, but you know what I mean.
Well, he's from Pittsburgh, so that's close.
Yeah, close enough. He's in an East Coast triad.
Right. And I figure with Shane, that also brings me Francine. So I kind of got a little chance of a cat fight between Tammy and Francine every now and then.
Aaron?
Shane's a good pull. Is Shane your top heel?
No, Shane is not my top heel. I am going to keep Shane as a mid to higher heel in that when I introduce my United States or World Television title, Shane will be the one holding it.
And
he's kind of like your workhorse.
Right.
And that's generally where I would use Shane too. I like I've always said if he wasn't in ECW, I only dug him in ECW. Other than that, to me, he was always just a mid card guy or top of the mid card guy. So that's probably where I'd use him too. And then if you're gonna hook him up with Candido and Bigelow, then they can do some heel shit, some beat downs and all that jazz.
Right. So going against the triple threat here and there is my next pick, and it is the former and longest ECW World Television Champion, Mr. Monday Night, Rob Van Dam.
Who was also in oh man, from 97 to what do you say, 03 was probably his prime, his prime
Yes,
years
sir.
where he was doing his best work.
Yeah.
And he's another guy you can use a face or a heel,
Right.
and
Right.
either way.
What I would
And
like to see though as a setup would be Shane wins wins whatever the secondary title is going to be, and
Mhm.
Rob comes out taking a spotlight a little bit and sort of like, franchise, you've never faced me,
right.
So kind of leans on that. He could like he's a tweener. He's not really saying he's a face, but he's getting in Shane Douglas's face, and they're trading jabs a little.
Which is a good role for Rob.
Yeah.
Because Rob was one of those guys, or I guess he's not dead or anything. Rob is one of those guys that has always been good at
being an asshole.
Well, yeah, his character,
Antagonizer.
yes, much like The Rock, his character doesn't change whether he's a babyface or a heel.
Right.
He just is either cheered or not cheered, and it depends on who he's feuding with,
Now, the good part about getting 98 Rob Van Dam means I don't have to get Katie Forbes. So I could leave her wherever she was in 1998.
Whatever corner she was in.
Yeah. And finally from ECW, the final pick from Extreme Championship Wrestling. This was just before he made the jump, but he was on fire with matches with Masato Tanaka for the ECW World Heavyweight title. My final pick is Mike Awesome.
Yeah, one of my favorites of all time. Awesome Mike Awesome.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I was going to say this. If Shane's not your top heel, fucking Mike Awesome needs to be, brother.
Yes, he is. That is. See, that in my opinion, Awesome was he was booked incredible in ECW. He was a powerhouse. He was able to fly, and he was dastardly. When he got to WCW, except for when he beat the crap out of Kevin Nash for 5 minutes, after that he was just a fat chick driller and missed that 70s guy. They didn't know what to do with him. You just let Awesome mow guys down, and if he's got to grab the mic, only let him be on it for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Sort of like Sid. You don't let him talk that much because he's not going to say anything that relevant up until, he makes a mistake and then, ruins everything.
Well, he's definitely a guy you want to stick a mouthpiece with him,
Right.
like they did with Judge Jeff Jones.
Right.
But also, and this is just a retrospect talking here, but I don't understand why he never took off in the WWF during the Invasion time, because it almost seemed like they wanted him to, because they let him be the first quote unquote WCW wrestler to invade Madison Square Garden, and
win a title.
Yeah. But he just kind of got lost in that shuffle and never rose above the crop in that whole deal. Like, it seems like he would be the perfect, fit for the WWF.
I agree. Vince didn't see enough in him, I guess.
I don't want to get lost in the weeds, but you know what I think it was?
What's that?
Honestly, I think it goes back to what we were talking about with Brian Lee. Like, when we were talking about Brian Lee, where Vince told Cornette, like, hey, this guy is going to be the Undertaker, and Brian Lee was like, oh, yeah, well, I'll do that, and he just fucking left. I honestly think that probably the, Triple H's and the Stephanies and the Vinces were like, oh, this guy was willing to
just walk out.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that Mike Awesome probably got the stigma of not being reliable.
And that's a possibility.
You're right.
But regardless of that, fantastic performer.
Oh, he's fucking great. Like, Mike Awesome's like Sid Vicious with fucking moves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like oh, this guy
You don't got to
looks like
worry.
this guy's Sid, but he can work.
You don't got to worry about him jumping off the top rope. He ain't gonna. He ain't
Yeah.
gonna catch his leg underneath him.
But he might fold JT Smith in half.
Oh yeah.
Which was like that's how I always looked at Mike Awesome was he was Sid Vicious with fucking ability.
Right. But he got trained in Japan and didn't really see the light of the United States until he came to ECW. Before then, he was FMW, and you know what I mean. So that he got a better understanding being a wrestler. Where was Sid before he went to NWA? Memphis, right? And he probably got trained right, but he just didn't care to learn.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, wait, softball season, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he was training for softball more than he was wrestling. So, next, coming out of WCW, he is a former ECW World Tag Team Champion, WCW World Tag Team, United States, and World Heavyweight Champion, but he relinquished the title one day after he won it, and a former WWF World, Intercontinental, and Tag Team Champion. He is the Crippler, Chris Benoit.
Another guy that at this time in his prime, I mean, his prime was a little longer than most people's prime just because he was so damn talented.
Right.
But Benoit at this time, easily top 5 wrestler in the world.
Right.
98. Was he in? He was in the Horsemen for most of 98, wasn't
he? Yeah, he was having matches with Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Jericho, and they were stealing Nitro, basically. If it wasn't the NWO, it was Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero having a knockdown, drag-out 25-minute match.
And that's what I was going to say. That's what he's going to give you on your card. When this guy comes out, you know, you're getting your good long match of the night.
Right.
And it's going to be a good match no matter who he's in the ring with. And yeah, I mean, to have him on your roster in 98 is a must-have, really.
Look, we're not excusing what happened. He's a horrible human being, but he was in 98. He was a great wrestler.
And you have to, when you're talking about the product and talking about the business, you at a certain point, I don't know when it was, I started being able to differentiate Chris Benoit, the wrestler, from Chris Benoit, the person, and start to talk more about him and his legacy and what he did contribute, because he did contribute to the wrestling business. He contributed a lot to the wrestling business.
Yes, he did.
And, you know, and I mean, there's no doubt about that. And yeah, the end was bad. I mean, it was horrific.
Right.
Aaron?
I'm going to say this about Benoit. It's kind of what Nate said. Was he... I shouldn't say was he. He is probably the worst I don't want to say... He's the worst human being ever in professional wrestling. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big statement because there's Bob Sweetan and there's Buck Dumoff and all that shit. Chris Benoit's on that list, but his contribution to professional wrestling should not be
dismissed.
Exactly.
Right.
Dude, like, yes, because
Chris Benoit was a perfect professional wrestler. And if you're looking at building a roster in 1998 eyes, fucking why wouldn't you want this guy?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to dismiss... I don't want to say it like, okay, I'm going to dismiss what he did, because what he did was fucking terrible. But I also don't think what he contributed should be
Erased.
No, definitely not.
No. And that's what I was about to say. Essentially, what I'd say is acknowledge the matches,
Right.
acknowledge the talent, watch the matches, enjoy the matches if you can. If you can't, that's fine. But so, in other words, acknowledge what Benoit was to the business. Do you ever give him the honor of being in a Hall of Fame? No, because that's an honor. You know what I mean? You don't
Right.
you don't do that, but you can at least appreciate the
Don't
body
applaud
of work.
Don't applaud the person, but applaud what he did.
Right.
Yes.
You have to know a barrier. No, of course.
It's kind of like Dynamite. Like Dynamite isn't as bad as Chris Benoit, but would I tell you that Dynamite Kid was a great person? No, Dynamite Kid was a fucking piece of shit.
Right.
But he contributed so much to professional wrestling. You know what I mean?
Changed it.
Definitely.
He changed it.
Definitely.
Him and Tiger Mask changed it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So yes, we got off on a tangent as we always do, but
that's allowed.
If it's 1998 and you're building a professional wrestling roster, obviously you want the best professional wrestler on said roster, Chris Benoit.
And he was the A1, A2 professional wrestler in '98.
I couldn't agree more. That's why
when
looking at that roster, when I was looking at WCW, I was like, you know what? I don't need a Flair. I don't need a Hogan, because I'm building my company from the ground up, and I know what happened after '98 with those guys. Which I love Flair, and I'm wearing a Hogan shirt right now. But I want to build from where I know guys that are going to go up and not just start pissing people off and using their creative control, or they're, getting on a tissy fit because they told them they're not main eventing tonight.
Absolutely.
All right. Next up on the list go ahead, Aaron.
I was gonna ask a question, but I won't.
Go ahead, ask.
Is Eddie on your roster?
Yes, he is.
Goddamn right. He's the A1, A2 of that fucking '98.
Well, just before Eddie, coming in at the number 2 pick from WCW, he held a plethora of titles in WCW and in WWF, and I feel he wasn't used right in the WWF. He is the man of 1,000 holds, Dean Malenko.
Dean Malenko is...
Nate knows of my love of Dean Malenko.
Yeah. Well, I was going to let you talk about Dean Malenko because of your love of Dean Malenko.
He's fucking great.
How eloquent.
Aaron, you're such a wordsmith.
No, Dean Malenko, okay? Dean was the guy that you could say, like, oh, Eddie was, like, flashy and great. And Chris was, like, fundamentally awesome and this, that, and there. But fucking Dean had everything.
Everything.
Like,
everything.
Like, was he a great talker? No. Okay.
He had his moments, though.
I'm talking in the ring.
Oh, no, in the ring, there wasn't anyone that could touch him.
There is not a finer, polished professional wrestler than fucking Dean Malenko. He was fucking great.
And I want to tell you, I'll tell you.
And everything that fucking dude did in the ring was perfect. Like, Dean Malenko, I can't even put into words how much I loved Dean Malenko as a professional wrestler. That guy was perfect. Like, I've seen Eddie Guerrero matches where I'm like, and I'm not downplaying Eddie Guerrero, and I've seen Chris Benoit matches where I've seen flaws and shit, but I've never seen a Dean Malenko match where I was just like, I saw a flaw in it. That dude was perfect.
No, and here was the great thing about Dean too. you could tell when he didn't have a good match with somebody, if it was somebody else's fault or something didn't go perfectly. He wore it on his sleeve. Like he'd slink out of the ring and just like, no, I don't care, and just walk to the back because it wasn't at his absolute best. So he took it out on himself. He wasn't this cocky guy that was like, the fans are just going to get whatever they want. Whatever I can do, I don't give a shit. He busted his ass. You know what I mean?
We're told a lot of the time, most of the time actually, and most of the time it rings true. We're told that to be super over as a pro wrestler, you have to have it in the ring and you have to have it on the stick. And Dean Malenko was so good in the ring.
Didn't fucking matter.
Didn't care. Yeah, didn't
matter. He didn't need it on the stick. As an example, if you've never seen it, folks, go back and watch. I think it's Slamboree '98 with the Battle Royal, where Dean Malenko dresses a Seco play.
Yep.
And he takes that mask off, and there is rarely in '98 a bigger pop for anybody but Austin that is as big as that pop that he fucking got that night at, I think it's Slamboree '98.
Yep.
And it's insane. It's absolutely, that crowd goes fucking nuts. That might be one of the most over angles WCW ever did in its entire company history.
The pop, the look on Jericho's face, and then the hush that comes over the crowd before he nails Jericho. You know what I mean? It's like for months, all Jericho did was shit talk. And now he's face to face with the guy who was doing it too. You know what I mean? And seeing Dean in the Cyclope outfit was weird, but knowing that, you know, when, like, I'm sure we all watched it, and Hoovy jumps out of the ring and is like, yeah, go get him. Like, what the fuck's going on here? Why is Cyclope going to fight Chris Jericho? And then the mask came off, and it was like, yes! You know,
well, the funny thing is there's a guy that's in that match that's like just like a generic guy. He's like El Grande Luchador or something. And originally that's who they were going to make be Malenko, but whoever it was decided, no, that would be too obvious.
Well, of course.
So they decided to put him in the Seco play outfit to try kind of throw everybody off.
Now, the funny thing is I believe El Grande Luchador was Billy Kidman. Because at this point, they didn't have anything for Billy Kidman. He wasn't in the flock yet. Mm-hmm. He wasn't really a big name yet. So they just kept throwing him under a mask on Nitro and making him fight with like Hoovy and tag matches or something like that. So
and not to go back to like the depressing thing about Bobby Eaton, but Dean is in the same breath of like a Bobby Eaton. That
I agree.
Professional wrestling fans, like non-hardcore fans or whatever, might not necessarily say, "Oh, Dean Malenko was a fucking bomb." And be like, that dude is boring or whatever.
Nope.
But bell to bell, fucking goddamn, this like any professional wrestler is gonna tell you that Dean Malenko is a fucking man. You know what I mean? Like that crew of like Jericho, Eddie, Benoit, they're gonna tell you that fucking Dean was the man. You know what I mean? Like I guarantee all of them would tell you that fucking Dean Malenko was better than any of them.
You know how you could tell fans respected Dean Malenko? When he shows up on AEW as an agent and they see him still come to the ring, they're still popping for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's an AEW younger audience.
It's a legacy.
So he's, you know, that's again in '98. That's who you want on your roster. And I also feel that with Benoit and Malenko having ties to Douglas and the Triple Threat, it gives me a big feud to where Shane could be like, I made you guys in ECW and you took off on me. And then when I was coming to WCW, we were in Revolution, you guys took off on me again. You know what I mean? You ran to the WWF.
And now that you've joined me here in Archie Mitchell's New Jersey Wrestle Bash Federation.
Oh, I've got a name, but it's not being told yet. But I like your name.
That's a lot. That's a mouthful. All right, go ahead.
I'm good. I like your name. We got to rethink it. Give me 1 second. So now, as Aaron said earlier, can't have a roster without a little Latino heat, and this was just before he got to being Latino heat. Eddie Guerrero will be coming to my roster because I think we need a little bit of cruiserweight action, as well as somebody who could even carry a mid-card title, at any point. He was a United States champion in WCW.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Eddie could be that spoiler in that if I ever put him in there with a guy who, like, just off the top of my head, a Triple H, and Triple H is injured and I got to get the title off of him. We all know what Eddie did against Brock and winning the world title in WWF.
Right.
Why couldn't Eddie be my champion at one point down the road?
Oh, absolutely. One of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time. And in 98, he was probably in my top 3 wrestlers in 98 personally.
I agree.
Myself, I can't quite remember when he started, like when he had his car wreck and all that stuff. I can't, in my brain, I can't remember exactly when it was. But I mean, the body of work speaks for itself. I've talked ad nauseum about Eddie Guerrero on this podcast, so people that listen have heard my opinion. So I'm just going to say yes. Good pick, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Eddie Guerrero versus Mike Awesome.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You imagine Awesome tries that Awesome bomb from the top and Eddie turns it into a Huracan Rana and, like, just slings Awesome across the ring?
Mike pull it off.
All right. Coming in next from WCW, another workhorse, but on the face side of things. He is the He is the two-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion. Self-high five, Diamond Dallas Page. He was over big in 98.
It probably is his most successful year. Well, 97, 98. I know Aaron's going to frown on this decision, but what I will say is, again, looking in 1998 eyes, the way wrestling was. Here's how I'll put this. The way that pro wrestling was presented during the Monday Night War era was the best time for DDP to get over.
Right.
Because there were great pro wrestlers and stuff, but if you were going to get over on a gimmick, on a catchphrase, things like that, I mean, look, the Worm, the People's Elbow.
People's Elbow, right.
I understand.
Aaron, you can say what you want. Go ahead.
No, you're the booker, and that's fine. That if you want him on the roster, and I get that he's over, I just I don't want to say it like I would be if I'm working for the Archie Wrestling Federation. I'm like, okay, I understand why this guy's on the show, but
and not to mention, you're forming a harem here, Archie, because if you pull DDP, you also get Kimberly.
Exactly. Exactly.
You got Francine, you got Sonny, you got Kimberly. Look at Archie, smart fucking businessman right here.
Right.
Kimberly Page.
And now you just intrigued Aaron. Now he's willing to be on the he's on the DDP train now.
Yeah, I'm good with that. But if she's along for the ride, cool. But DDP, I understand why you want him, but he's the Brutus Beefcake of your roster.
Well, that's who I'm picking next is Brutus Beefcake. No, I'm just kidding. I stayed away from that fucker.
At this point, he looked like he had fleas anyway.
Yeah. I didn't. You know what I never understood either?
Worst beard in wrestling history.
I'm going to go off on a small tangent here. He tried to join the NWO when Hogan won the World Heavyweight title, and they beat the crap out of him and threw him out of the ring. He came out dressed as the Booty Man, but in an NWO shirt. They threw him out of the ring. And then 3 months later, he comes back as the damn disciple. Like, why did we just get him to be the disciple right then and there? What would have been the difference? You know?
But I still contest worst beard in wrestling history.
I agree.
Worse than the great Antonio's beard.
And he was a barber. He should have known how to trim that thing.
Yeah, no shit.
I'm going to clump the next few names together. Not that they're a tag team, but they always had great matches together in WCW at this time. And on my roster, if I do decide to put together a cruiserweight division, these two are going to be the ones leading the charge. It is the Ultimo Dragon and Rey Mysterio Jr.
Can't go wrong there. That's a bang-up combination.
Yeah, I mean...
I think that...
Ultimo Dragon was flawless.
Mm-hmm. He was
coming out in Madison Square Garden. Other than that, he was fucking flawless.
Well, did anybody ever perfect two styles better than he did? He perfected not only lucha, but he also perfected strong style.
Yes.
You know, I mean, he perfected both styles perfectly. Like, there's lots of guys that combine styles. You know, Shawn Michaels kind of combined American wrestling with lucha.
Right.
And Bret Hart kind of brought American wrestling and then kind of a European style wrestling together. But I don't know if anybody ever melded two styles together better than Ultimo Dragon did.
That was the thing about it that I like about Ultimo. He looked like he was hitting somebody hard, even if he wasn't. You know what I mean? It was realism. And you weren't really seeing a lot of that in wrestling at the time. But then you mix that with Rey Mysterio, who was just jumping all over the ring and doing these crazy outlandish moves. You put those two in the ring together at any point in time on your card, whether it be the opener, the mid card, or in the main event, and you had a blockbuster night. You know,
and I know it didn't happen in '98. I know it was earlier in '97, but you guys will probably agree with me as younger, like teenage wrestling fans in the mid '90s. Wasn't one of the coolest things you ever saw him with all those belts?
Oh, yeah.
Like, God damn it, that's fucking cool.
And
with all them belts.
When you would see what companies they were from,
yeah.
It would make you like he had the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship, and I remember going, I didn't know the WWF had a light heavyweight division. Wait a second, you know, and then he'd have 4 NWA titles around his waist, and then like, where are all these belts coming from? What company did he win these in?
I'm just standing there like this. Like,
yeah, draped in gold. It was just so fucking cool.
Video, but it's just been like, yeah, I'm the fucking man.
You know, and then they brought Liger in, and they had a fight for it. It was like every time the belt would, like the title would change hands, you'd go, "Damn, that guy's got to carry around 9 belts now."
Yeah.
You know? God forbid they won the cruiserweight title in that 10.
And I know you said Ray, but I got on Ultimo more just because I think we've talked about Ray a lot on the show.
Yeah, it's so, Ray. You know, Ray needs no introduction, but with Ultimo Dragon, I almost called him Ultimo Guerrero. You know, there was just something about Ultimo that had a mystifying look to it. Mm-hmm. Something as simple as a snap suplex looked like he just killed somebody,
right?
But yet then he'd get back up and perform a powerbomb, and you're like, damn. You know, he was a mixture of so many wrestlers that I was already loving. That's what made him cool.
Absolutely.
You know, and I get my first manager with Ultimo Dragon. I get Sonny Ono, my first male manager. Although I don't think I'll be using Sonny for anything but a manager. He was quite annoying.
I wouldn't even use him as a manager.
All right, because Aaron's saying that, I will cut Sonny Ono. Now, moving on to the WWF portion of my roster. First name being picked up. You think you know him. His name is Edge.
A very, very, very young Edge.
Yes.
Just getting started in the WWF, I think, SummerSlam 98 is when he came in, or a little bit before, maybe.
Sable's mystery partner.
He just broke Jose Estrada's neck.
He said he didn't break his neck. He said it before. But yeah, he injured him.
Nate, was that Jose Estrada?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
When he went to the fucking Huna Rana and
Yep.
Yep.
Most of that motherfucker just fucked him up on Raw. Like his debut match. Like, oh, you think you know him? You think you know him? And like Edge is in the subway, and then his like first fucking match.
Yep. Well, the best part about that story, Aaron, is Edge just said that during the match when that happened, the ref came to him like real subtly, like, "Hey kid, I think he's out," because Jose was knocked out, and Edge just looked at the referee, pulled his hair in front of his face, and went, "Fuck! Like, what am I supposed to do now?"
But you've got obviously you said earlier thinking about the future.
Right.
I mean, hindsight being 2020, you got another 13, 14 years out of this guy.
Right.
And it's just getting started.
And if you let him work smart, he doesn't hurt his neck. He doesn't have to retire.
Well, I'm thinking about this roster here. Think about a younger Rey Mysterio in the ring with Edge, or Ultimo Dragon, or Eddie Guerrero, or just rattle down the list of names. Chris Candido versus Edge.
Chris Candido, exactly.
So, yeah. Take a break?
Yeah, go for
it. Okay. I go bathroom.
Go ahead.
This time down.
Let's see. I have 2, 4, 6 singles wrestlers left, and 5 tag teams. 6 tag teams. Excuse me. How's everything been at work, Aaron?
Insane.
Why?
They're just sending us so much fucking freight.
Really?
Yeah. It's fucking nuts how much fucking freight they're sending us.
My Walmart keeps saying we're not getting anything in the mail.
They're just slamming us with fucking freight.
Anything good coming in?
No.
No. Man, I've been to 4 or 5 of the Targets in my area looking for that Macho Man, the new Legends, because it's only a Target, and can't find him worth a damn. So I ended up buying one on Macari last night for cost plus shipping. It cost me like $35 at the end of the night. So, and I don't mind doing that, but it'd be nice to find something on the damn peg one time.
Yeah.
So, and then everything else I want, I have pre-ordered. But here's the crack up. I pre-ordered Britt Baker from the AEW line, Luchasaurus, and that Hikaru Shida from AEW as well, and Bam Bam Bigelow, the new Legends figure, right? Everybody's finding them in stores right now. I'm waiting until late August, early September to get them in the mail. So, should have just bought them from somebody. So, ridiculous though. This figure addiction is not funny, my friend.
Yeah, just work-wise, like we just from like not even like, oh, is there wrestlers in it? Like typically we'll get like a GM truck.
Right.
We get GM trucks every week. Or not every week, every day. Okay. Like if we don't get one, we want them to send it to us.
Okay.
Like if they're like, oh, no truck tonight, be like, no, fucking send us one.
Right.
We don't want a 2-truck night. Like today, they sent us 3 full GM trailers of freight.
Damn, man.
Like full semi trucks of fucking freight.
That's ridiculous.
It's fucking ridiculous. And 2 days, like 2 and I'm sorry, but like every single day for like the last 2 weeks, they've just been sending us two trucks,
Right.
full fucking door to the nose of the truck, full of freight. And today they sent us fucking 3 of them. Like they're just peppering us with goddamn merchandise. Fucking ridiculous. And then you gotta like have people work this shit to the shelf, and it's just fucking
Right.
nuts.
Yeah, we have a Walmart here that has 2 doors. One door is the side for the supermarket, one door is the side for the retail items.
Yeah.
And they closed the retail item door. You can still go to it, like if you walk in from the supermarket door, but they closed the retail side door at 8 p.m. Meanwhile, all the registers are still open by there. Everything is still open. They just don't have anybody who could work security or be a greeter at that door past 8 o'clock. So then you go, you pick out your items. You have to park on the other side and walk through and to come find that there's not a single human at a checkout stand. It's all self checkout. And then when you try to find something in this store, if you ask them where it is, they tell you the wrong area. Then when you finally track somebody else down and say, hey, somebody told me this was here. Oh, we don't care. Aaron, I asked for something as simple as Windex. Every store in the world, even 7-Eleven, sells Windex. Do you carry Windex? Can you tell me what aisle it's in? Oh, I don't think we have that. You don't have glass cleaner? Oh, is that what that is? And I literally, my eyes bugged out of my head. And I went, yes. They said, oh, it should be in the cleaning aisle. I'm like, ma'am, it's not there. Could you come with me and show me where you think it might be? She's like, no, because if it's not there, then we don't have it. I'm like, okay, thank you very much. I'm going to the rest of part of the store, and I'm in the automotive aisle, and sure enough, they have Windex because it's glass cleaner. So I put it in my cart. I'm going to the checkout. This woman sees me, the same woman. She's like, oh, you found it? I'm like, yeah. She's like, can you tell me where it was so I could tell other people? I'm like, no. She's like, why not? I'm like, you need to learn your job better. Like, if you don't know where things are, you're not supposed to be working here. She's like, well, I only started here 6 months ago. Aaron, I swear to God, I literally paid for my shit and walked out. And I have not been back to that Walmart since. And the funny part is it's literally a mile away from my house. The other Walmarts are 5 and 6 and 7 miles away. I sooner go to them. It made no sense, though. They're just hiring anybody. And what I don't get is you have nobody at the checkout aisles. It's all self-checkout. But meanwhile, there's 8 people that work there sitting in a corner talking. What do you do here? So you need to move to Jersey and come work and be the manager at my Walmart and yell at these people. Oh, Aaron left. Where is he? I can't hear him.
I can't hear him either.
And
Plus, he looks like he went to warp speed.
The V hold on his television went back.
Did you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right.
Okay. You write this down. Let's go to 53. All right, Archie, who's next on your amazing 1998 roster?
Next up on my list, he is an oldie at this point, but a goodie. And I think that when he starts to wind down his career, I can use him as either a agent or booker or my commissioner because he has a lot of experience in that. He is Mrs. Foley's baby boy, Mankind Mick Foley.
Yes. And you have a lot, just based on the roster that you've presented already, you have a lot of good potential matchups there for him.
Right.
I could definitely see, I'm going back to your triple threat there. I could see them, you could kind of get some mercy heat on Mick They beat the shit out of him or something, and then
he's got a history with Shane. So
yeah, definitely. And to that, like you said, in the future, then and I think that's actually the first time in the history of the We Can't Wrestle podcast that someone used the expression "an oldie but a goodie." I like it.
Well, because in my opinion, by this time, Foley was already in the game 20 years.
Yep.
Between WCW and WWF, ECW,
And his injuries are starting to slow him down and things to that nature. But like you said, you can use him to put over these younger guys you have on your roster.
Right.
And then position him or move him into a position of, like you said, an on-air authority figure or anything like that. Yeah.
He could even do commentary if he really wanted to. Mm-hmm. I've heard him talk. He does great at it.
Mm-hmm.
So
definitely.
Any thoughts, Aaron?
Nope. Aaron has no thoughts.
I have thoughts.
Okay.
Foley is I wouldn't put Foley on commentary because I've heard him on commentary and he's terrible. He's terrible. But he's a guy that you want on your roster because he's kind of what I said about Dean. He's not selfish.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He'll do whatever you need him to do. He'll put over whoever you need him to put over, and like, hey, I'll get that guy over.
Yeah.
Right. And even if you don't tell him to put somebody over, he may pick somebody off your roster and be like, hey, I want to work with that guy.
Yeah.
And give him a great match to have somebody look at him as a star. And you know what? He does. He's
like a Terry Funk in that respect.
Right.
He really did pattern himself after his hero.
Yep.
And I mean, just look at what Mick Foley did for, I mean, people can say what they want, and so can Hunter, but he made Hunter. And he made Randy Orton. And he made
even
Edge.
Helped to make Edge. Right. I was just about to say that. He helped Austin and Rock get over in their feud by being a part of it here and there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and just segue a bit from Mankind, next up on my list, because he was red hot in 98. The Texas Rattlesnake Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, I mean,
will be in my company.
That's a gimme. I mean, how do you have a roster in 1998?
Right.
Like, if you would have went through this whole thing and I'd have never heard that name, I'd have been like, Archie Mitchell, where the fuck was Stone Cold Steve Austin?
You don't want ratings. You're going against Austin with no Austin.
He's at the height of his popularity. I mean, people can say what they want. The argument always is who's the biggest draw of all time? Is it Austin or is it Hogan?
Here's the thing.
I always say it's over time.
Right.
Hogan may over time have drawn more but Austin was hotter in a shorter period of time than Hogan was.
Exactly.
Because it's insane to think about this, folks.
Austin didn't have that long.
Yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin's run on top was only about 3.5 years long.
Right.
Really. And then you even take out that for most of the year 2000, he was injured.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, he really, for the time that he had, the limited time that he had on top, what a success.
Yeah. Look, yes, Hogan was in the AWA and he wasn't really big there because of Vern Gagne and whatever. But the minute he stepped into the WWE, Vince had him pegged as the main guy.
Mm-hmm.
They just had to go through the steps of getting the belt off Backlund and, him beating the Iron Sheik and whatnot. Austin, on the other hand, when he came up from, where he was, with Chris Adams and Von Erichs and everything, WCW, he was starting to get momentum, but they didn't give him enough to play with there. Every time he gained traction, whether it was the US or the TV or the tag, something bad would happen.
Well, they'd change the booker. Or,
get injured or, and then, fired, got to WWE. It took him 2.5 years to get that steam that he needed.
Right.
But it was the perfect slow burn for him.
Yes.
So, and ironically, though, Austin will be fighting for my World Heavyweight title, and he may even be the World Heavyweight champion down the road. but I would not peg him to be the first world heavyweight champion. Because for some reason, I think Austin chasing the title is a little better than Austin having the title.
Right.
So
I have a question I want to pose to you guys, just real quick.
Go ahead.
It's something that I've thought about, and I don't know if we've ever discussed it on the show. I don't know if I've ever brought it up or not. If Vince isn't up against it in the midst of the Monday Night Wars in 1996, 1997, does he allow... I mean, I know hindsight 2020, he would probably say yes now because of the success that it was. But not knowing what would happen, does he allow that character to even organically come about like it did? You know what I mean? Like, because he was in that heated competition with WCW, that's when Vince is at his best. And it's also when Vince lets things happen organically that he may not have let happen before if he was on top. So do you think he lets that even? Do you think he lets Austin 316 and all that even begin? Because it kind of happened. They weren't intending for him to be
right.
I think he does.
Think so?
I think he does, but he puts a leash on it. In that, whenever Austin was just about to get to that edge, he'd yank back on it a little bit. Like, for instance, WrestleMania 14, or was it 13? Austin and Shawn Michaels.
14.
If HBK isn't injured, maybe Austin doesn't win the title there. You know what I mean? Maybe Vince says, no, keep it on HBK, let Austin chase it. Because he did stutter step a couple of times with Austin. The King of the Ring, the Austin 316, promo. And then they let him cool off for a few months, and then he started feuding with Bret again. Winning the Royal Rumble for real, not when he got eliminated and came back in. When he finally won it, even though he was going against Shawn, they brought in Mike Tyson as a buffer, and the feud was kind of more Austin and Tyson than it was Austin and Michaels. So, you know what I mean? Vince might have been a little afraid to pull the trigger.
I think he lets it, and it might... My thought to your question, Nate, might be out of left field. But do you know why I think?
What's that?
I think because watching old school wrestling, I think he would have let it happen because he wanted it to happen in like 84 with Dr. Death.
Dr. D.
Dr. D.
Right.
Like Dave Schultz was Steve Austin before Steve Austin. And I think if Dr. D wouldn't have smacked fucking Stossels around,
right,
that's what he was doing. You know what I mean? And people can say what they want to say about Vince, but I think Vince likes that asshole anti-authority character, and like watching the progression of Dr. D to that point where he fucking smacked him around, and then he had to stop it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think Vince would have seen. I still like what you were asking. If I heard the question right, I think Vince would have seen the Steve Austin character for what it was and been like, we gotta strap a rocket to this fucking guy.
Okay, that's fair. I think it's an interesting question. I just thought it was an interesting question.
And you know why? I think it's because that's how Vince looks at himself.
Yeah, or did anyway.
Vince looks at the guy that's like, fuck you, and you're the fucking horse you rode in on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
He would have done it.
What you got next, Archie?
Next up on my list, as cliche as it may be, The Rock.
Well, I mean, once again, like we said about Austin, if you are looking at 1998 in pro wrestling, you have certain guys you just have to have.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I mean, it's talent you can't deny. And The Rock is, I mean, there's a debate sometimes amongst people of who was it The Rock or was it Austin? Which one was really the biggest star from the Attitude Era? And that's a whole nother conversation. But to have him on your roster, I don't see how you don't.
Well, and here's the funny part. Aaron asked about if Shane was my main heel, and I agreed it would be Mike Awesome, but The Rock is also going to be one of my main heels as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, like I mentioned, Austin not being my first world heavyweight champion, that's why. Because I think The Rock would constantly be stopping or Austin's forward momentum and keeping him from getting the belt before he does.
I was, and I agree with you. I was always a bigger fan of The Rock as a heel.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I can see where the character translates to being a babyface.
Right.
But he was always a heel. He was just a heel getting cheered, you know?
Right.
I mean, the character's an asshole. That's essentially what he is. He's an asshole. You know, oh, it's the hamburger. It's only the Hamburglar. You know, it's
and guess The Rock on this roster is an asshole, which he should be, because The Rock's character's an asshole.
Right.
And he's not afraid of anybody except one person. Awesome Mike Awesome.
Right.
Like, nope. I want nothing to do with that guy.
Like,
that's the only guy that the fucking heel Rock.
Right. Maybe even buddies up to Mike.
Yeah, I was gonna say sucks up to him. Like The Rock says, Mike is awesome.
Right. Maybe he becomes Awesome's mouthpiece a little bit. You know what I mean? You know.
The Rock likes Mike.
The Rock likes Mike. And coming in next, because you can't have Bam Bam Bigelow without having this man, in my opinion. They could maybe team up if Candido and Douglas are doing their own thing in the triple threat, because it's time. It's time. It's Vader time.
Yes.
And
Vader.
He was used badly in the WWE at this time, WWF.
Well, he was used badly in the WWF for most of his career there.
Right. You know,
all of his career.
Yeah. Well, maybe not at first.
Other than when he smacked around Monsoon.
I liked the angle. I liked the angle with Yoko.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they really did a good job with him until the Michaels match, and then the Michaels match, Vince soured on him because Shawn's a prick and bitched about him and all that stuff, and then he just got moved down the card. But you know what I'll say about Leon is, other than probably right before he left, when obviously you could tell that he was in poor shape, probably because he was fucking depressed about his career or whatever. No matter what they did with him and no matter how poorly they used him, whenever he went in there, he always gave 100%.
Yes.
You know, he was always fucking Vader, and no matter how they were presenting him from bell to bell, that's his world. He can do what he wants to do, and I thought he always did a great job there. And yeah, definitely.
And because Vader was managed by him at this time, I get Jim Cornette as well. So,
well, wouldn't you look who won the pony?
I would be putting Jim as one of my commentators. I would also be using him backstage as the booker and agent. Mind you, though, I will be more hands-on than Aaron. I will be a real, I'll be there full time and doing my own job as well. But I don't want to Vince it, so I'd be
you're not gonna be
Jim.
You're not gonna be lazy like Aaron, huh?
No. Aaron was just like, make me money.
I do my goddamn job.
I hired them.
I was putting aces in their places. That's what they say at work. Hey, put aces in their places. If I hear another fucking person tell me put aces in their places, I'm gonna fucking throw myself off the building.
Next on my list, so Aaron doesn't throw himself off a building.
Hey, can I say what I would do with Vader?
Yes.
This is what I would do with Vader. I would reinvent the wheel with Vader. Vader wouldn't have the mask that he had when he went in there. I would have Vader in that goddamn like smoking skull mask.
The one he had in Japan, the red and black one.
Yeah, and the full face mask and all that shit. I wouldn't bring him in the jockstrap mask. I would bring him in with the full black and red mask covering it. Fucking mastodon mask. That's what I would do with him. Because that was when he was fucking fire, man.
I agree.
And that's what I would do with him because the WWE audience, and I know you're not booking like the WWF audience, but what I'm saying is like I would bring him in with what made him fucking badass.
Right, like when he first stepped into WCW.
Yeah, that's what I do with him.
You want shock and awe when he comes to the ring. You don't just want them to say, "Oh, great, it's Vader again." You want them to go, "It's Vader time," and that's the way I'm booking him.
Like he wouldn't even fucking speak, in my opinion.
No, I'd have Cornette talking for him. The only thing he'd say is, "It's Vader time." That's it.
I wouldn't even have him say that shit.
You know,
he's just a badass motherfucker.
Next on my list, and it's only because it was 98, and I'm a fan of his, so he's got a soft spot in my heart. Triple H is my next pick.
I wouldn't be critical of that pick at all because Hunter is, I don't understand. First of all, I don't understand people that shit on him anyway.
No,
because
neither do I.
He was top guy potential before he even met Stephanie McMahon.
Right.
He was he's a solid performer.
Nate, what I was going to say is going to make you mad.
Well, let me finish just real quick.
Okay.
I've seen Triple H. I guess I've seen Triple H in bad matches because he put himself in a match with, say, a Great Khali or the Scott Steiner debacle. Yeah, I've never seen Triple H himself be the bad part of it. Does what I'm saying make sense? Like he's never been the bad part of something.
Right.
He's always been a consistent performer. He always got heat. He could play babyface or heel. Yeah, he played with the burying people and stuff, and that's just because he was part of the clique and that's what they did. And yes, he has had some advantages in being married to the boss's daughter. So what? You would too, everybody.
Right.
And at the end of the day, as his career goes on, I guess time proves, Archie, he could build you a whole nother fucking promotion because that's what he's done for Vince.
Exactly.
So obviously, yeah, I mean, Triple H is worth every penny you'd pay him.
I wouldn't be paying him much because it's 98, but
you got a downside guarantee, Hunter.
Right.
Nate, this is where you're gonna get mad at me. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
Out of Archie's roster, him picking Triple H, he just picked the Kurt Hennig of his roster.
I'll take that as a compliment.
I don't disagree with that.
Like he literally just picked the Kurt Hennig of his roster. This guy is going to go out there. He's not going to be selfish. He's going to understand what the end game is, and he's going to have a great fucking match with whoever he's in there with.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to bump like a fucking champ.
Right.
Like Triple H doesn't get enough credit for being a fucking bumping machine, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like that dude. I'm a Triple H fan. Okay.
Same.
And not even saying like just his working ability. It was just everything about Triple H I'm a fan of, and I think tell me a bad Triple H match you've ever, like, I know you just said, Scott Steiner this, Scott Steiner that.
Well, no, but I know. But also, the other thing about Triple H is, okay, he is... I don't know that people that are our age or older, but at a certain point, we get to an age where we forget that shit evolves.
Right.
We forget that there are younger people than us that like something different than we do. Like, I like to bitch and moan and complain about modern pro wrestling. And yeah, to me, it kind of stinks. But to somebody my son's age, it's a completely different vision for them. It's a completely they look at these modern wrestling stars like we looked at these stars back in the day.
Right.
So what I was going to say about Triple H is my son, and this is a testament to Triple H, my son looks at Triple H as we would look at Harley Race or Ric Flair.
Right.
Not that he's better or not that he's even an equivalent, but to another generation, Triple H is the top of his generation.
Right.
You know what I mean? To the next generation. And yeah, I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand people that shit on Hunter. And again, like I said, I'm not taking away from any of his negative aspects.
And honestly, probably if Triple H told you, or if you told Triple H, oh man, you're like the Harley Race of your generation, he'd be like, fuck off. I'm
right. But Harley Race would have said the same thing if I told him he was the Lou Thez of his generation.
Right.
Like, Thez was better than me.
But again, that's, there's a saying that I've heard over the last couple of years. It's mostly said to Tom Brady. A goat doesn't say he's a goat.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like Race and Flair and now Triple H, they don't agree if somebody tells them that they're just like their, the older generation's equivalent because they're humble. It's not about being that next person or being the new guy or whatever. It's about what did you give to the business. Where guys like Omega, and again, I'm a Kenny Omega fan. I will not ever say I'm not. Mm-hmm. But a guy like Kenny Omega will always say, I'm the best. Yes, and he means it. He's not just playing a part on a wrestling show.
And he couldn't be more. He couldn't be more fucking wrong. But anyway, but
like how many episodes are we into this? The We Can't Wrestle.
142.
142.
142.
Mm-hmm. Like if you would tell me, we're at 142. You said
yes.
If you would tell me at episode 5 and tell me at episode 37 that I had the best list, I'd be like, nah, I don't think I did.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. All right. The final single competitor on my list, and this is not because I wanted to leave him as the last because he's not good enough. I thought he deserves to be the last man drafted to my company.
Mantar?
What's that?
Was it Mantar?
No, it's TL Hopper.
Well, at this time, Mantar is wrestling in Germany as, I don't know, Tits McGee or something.
Wasn't he in ECW with the Baldies?
No. I don't think so. He wasn't a Baldy, was he?
Yes, he was.
He was Tank in the Truth Commission.
Yeah, but he was also a Baldy.
No shit.
In like 98 or 99, I don't remember.
Fucking Mantar was a Baldy. I didn't even remember that.
For like a month, and then they replaced him with Sally Graziano or something. I forgot who it was, but yeah. All right,
sorry.
So
we'll get there eventually in the Reliving the Extreme podcast.
Right. I feel that this man should be my first world heavyweight champion and the leader of my company, backstage, locker room. And again, when he is ready to hang up his boots, whenever the time comes, I think that he would do great as an agent and producer, even though he's not doing that right now during his retirement. My last singles draft pick is the man from Death Valley, The Undertaker.
Yep. I mean, yeah.
And-
I mean, what do you say? You know,
Yeah.
you have a roster and the Undertaker's available.
Yeah.
Like you said, I mean, a locker room leader.
Right. You know, and this is when he started to evolve the character. So he just wasn't the dead man in the black coat and the hat. He was starting to become a real person to people. He was starting to cut those work shoot promos. You know, he was starting to really show people, look, yes, I am the Undertaker, but I'm badass without all the makeup and the gimmick.
Right.
You know, and I think that with him as my first world heavyweight champion, the collisions with Mike Awesome, Shane Douglas, Triple H, a heel Rock, a face Austin. Hell, Mankind and him always killed it when they got in the ring with each other, so why not?
And almost killed each other.
And almost killed each other, right. A feud with Bam Bam or Vader, you know what I mean? He can basically have a match with the entire roster and nobody would
Holy shit. You just made me think of something.
What?
The entire time they were in the WWF together, did we ever see a Bam Bam Bigelow Undertaker match?
I don't think so.
I don't remember ever seeing Bam Bam versus The Undertaker.
I don't think they ever even hit each other like in a Royal Rumble or something like that. I don't think they ever crossed paths.
Wow.
It was probably on like I don't want to say anything against it. It might have been on like one of them like fucking Coliseum home videos or something.
I used to watch all those things there, and I don't remember that. You know, I don't remember it. And the cat even chimed in and said she doesn't think so.
Yeah, the cat's like, no.
No.
You know, but
all right,
you know.
So
what about fucking Mike Awesome Mike Awesome
against the Undertaker?
The Undertaker in a casket match.
Right.
Holy shit.
Right.
Well, I know what I'm watching when we're done here tonight. On YouTube, there is a match from WWF Superstars in 1993
Really?
that is The Undertaker versus Bam Bam Bigelow.
Well, I know what I'm watching as well.
Yes.
Maybe we could even have an episode about it.
Yeah. It's 8 minutes and 30-something seconds long, but that's what I'll be watching when we're done.
I got a feeling
an episode of an 8-minute and 37-second match.
Hey, it would be our shortest episode ever. But I got a feeling that like Undertaker won by DQ. Luna got in the ring and jumped on his back or something. You know. So now on to my tag teams. And these are based on because in '98, two or three of these tag teams were finding themselves again and really not at the height of their careers, but they were still doing
98,
it. You know?
98 wasn't a great year for tag teams.
You could be surprised, actually. First on my list is the Legion of Doom. Because Hawk and Animal, how do you not have them on your roster? And even though Hawk was going through his demons, I think that if he would have been put into the proper rehab and let him come out and do his thing again, I think he could have had a resurgence.
How about this?
Is Animal in his bicycle shorts?
No. They're not the Legion of Doom 2000.
How about this, Archie? As a booker, you might be able to make it so Hawk doesn't spiral out of control because you're not going to work his bullshit into his story.
Right.
Anyway.
Not going to let Darren Drozdov almost murder him off the Titantron. I can't believe that was never pointed out in that storyline. That Drozdov literally pushed him off the Titantron. But you could see it plain as day.
Nate, though, come on, buddy. When we were kids, when fucking that shit happened, we were just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yes.
What
the fuck?
I know it's a stupid angle, and you look at it with like 38-year-old eyes, but when that happened, you were like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but even as a kid, I was like, the next week when Hawk came back, a week or two later, he's like, Droz was the pusher man, and he gave me the drugs, but he never said, and you tried to murder me and push me off a Titantron. You know what I mean?
It was funny as shit when the pyro went off and Hawk and the big helmet stumbled around.
Yep.
It's like I always say, hindsight when we were living through the Attitude Era, we
Right.
thought it was the greatest shit we'd ever seen. And now
Right.
you look back at it now and you're like, wow, look at all this scorched earth where we can't plant any fucking crops.
Right.
That's essentially what the Attitude Era was.
I agree.
All right, go ahead, Arch.
Next on the list, and I love them. I know you guys love them too. And we're getting to a point when, again, they had a resurgence of their career. I'm going with Ricky and Robert, the Rock and Roll Express.
Good pick.
They were back and forth between the WWF and WCW at this time, but still getting good matches out of teams like the Headbangers and still having crazy matches with Ric Flair and Arn Anderson.
Yeah.
So.
And they had good matches in that fucking, what was it? The amusement park that WCW did their shit at.
Oh, the MGM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had like a 2-week run where they did good matches in there.
Yeah,
Right.
It's funny because no matter how you could watch the Rock and Rolls in '86, or you could watch them like me and Aaron did in 2019 or 2018.
Yep.
They're still just as fucking good as they ever
Yeah.
were. Like, you know how some guys get older and then their indie match becomes them just like walking around, maybe doing their little whatever little gimmick was when they were a big deal and blah blah blah, and then 5 minutes with some local guy and then they put their finisher on him. And Ricky and Robert still go out there and have a Ricky and Robert fucking tag team match.
Ricky
man.
Morton can do a Canadian Destroyer. Which it's not a hard move because your opponent just has to do a backflip. But, I mean, he could kill himself. Not his opponent. He could kill himself doing something like that. They still had good. But in '98, they were still having quality matches with whoever. And I think a Rock and Roll versus LOD match wouldn't be bad. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But this is the reason I brought them in, because the next two are still a little green and need that rub. The next team on my list is the Hardy Boys. Because the TLC matches, Matt and Jeff were good.
And they like you said, they're still super young here. They're still, I guess, clay you can mold. Right. And like you said, you match them up with some of the vet teams to get them some experience. And then as you move out the veteran teams, you bring in some others. And now you got your Hardy Boys for, at least 10 years as a team. And then you break them up and you got singles wrestlers.
Right.
And always consistent.
Maybe even have Jeff put Matt through a barbershop window so it could be like the Rockers again. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, quite frankly, to be perfectly honest with you, we haven't discussed it a lot on the show. I guess we don't talk about the Hardys a lot on the show because I don't think I've ever actually said this. I am much more a fan of the Hardys together than I am the Hardys as singles wrestlers. I agree. And I'm not shitting on them as singles wrestlers, but I always preferred them as a team over, just they have that great tag team dynamic, kind of like the Steiners. I always preferred Rick and Scott together.
Right.
I somewhat agree, but I like Matt Hardy version 2.0. He was fun.
Version 1, nah.
Yeah, that version
with
1.
The Mad Facts is the best part of that.
Doesn't like cauliflower. Shannon Moore. That was a cool little act they had going together. That's what
I'd say. Like, I understand what you're saying about them being together.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy Jeff. I'll say that. I enjoy Jeff Hardy better as a tag team.
Well,
but
because
Matt Hardy
would keep him in check when Matt and Jeff were
Matt
together.
As a single. Matt as a single is fucking fantastic. Every gimmick he ever did.
He's not that good in the AEW right now. He's getting on my nerves, but maybe that's his job.
I don't know what he does in AEW because I don't watch it.
Well, maybe you can start watching
it. Huh?
How are you going to be on if you smell what the Arch is cooking if you don't watch it?
Well, I boycotted wrestling for a week Like, I boycotted all of wrestling for a week because Nick Gage was on it. I was like, I'm not gonna watch any wrestling for a week because somebody gave Nick Gage a food stamp. So I'm like, I'm not gonna watch it.
Oh God, you think you got paid in food stamps? All right, next on my list, because I need a heel tag team, but I also need two badasses to bump up against the Legion of Doom. And I am picking, and as I said, this is one of the only names on the list that I actually shared with Aaron, Shane Douglas being the other one. I am picking up the Faces of Fear, Meng Barbarian.
Great pull.
And if I had to choose, they would be my first tag team champions.
They should be your only tag team champions.
Well, yes.
They should be like the baddest asses motherfuckers on your roster.
Well, that's the
like,
whole thing of it, right?
They had like Nate's chair or whatever, tricky as shit.
That's my dog.
Okay.
I thought there was a cricket.
Yeah, I'm outside now, so there are crickets.
What? There is a spot, okay, that the Faces of Fear did that was fantastic.
Backdrop into the powerbomb.
Oh yeah,
and they had it finally tuned too.
Mang didn't give a shit who they would be wrestling. Mang would just flip a motherfucker Barbarian and just like catch him
and deadlift him up and
just catch ridiculous. Him. And fucking Barb caught him every goddamn time. It didn't matter if it was fucking Rocco Rock, Johnny Grunge.
Yep, the Steiner Brothers, High Voltage.
Steiner Brothers or whatever. They just Mang would fucking fling him and be like, catch him, Barb. Yep. And Barb caught him every fucking time.
And then pull a deadlift. That was the whole, he would pick up dead weight and just, that's why I'm picking him, because in 98, if there was no outsiders, if there was no NWO, I think the Faces of Fear would have been much bigger in WCW.
Yeah. Like, Nate was talking about the Heroes and Legends signing. The fucking Powers of Pain were there.
Right.
And I wanted to get an autograph from the Barbarian, but guess why I didn't?
Why?
I was intimidated.
I can see that.
Like, I was like, Barbarian's intimidating. Like, I don't want to talk to that guy. Like, even when he tried to, like, make eye contact, I was like, nope. Like, I'll make eye contact with Oscar and make fun of the diabetes from his feet.
Well, yeah, but you and Oscar are giving each other the stink eye.
Yeah, like, I'll give the Oscar the stink eye all day. But Barbarian looked at me, I was like, nope.
I will agree with Meng and Barbarian, but I will say this: if I have any creative influence in your promotion, Archie, I would definitely, to me, and you can tell me if you think I'm off base here, I think it would be cool to have your dominant heel faction managed by Jim Cornette of Vader and the Faces of Fear.
I like it.
I mean, who's going to get the belts off these guys? There you go. There's your story right off the bat. These guys got all the belts. Who's going to get them off of them?
Right.
Ultimo Dragon?
Well, see, there's the good storyline there. Taker wins the first title. He's celebrating on Raw the next night. Vader comes out to attack him. Taker gets the upper hand. And then why the hell are the Faces of Fear coming to the ring? They bombard the Undertaker and take him out. And Jim Cornette's like, Cam Cornette's in business. You know?
Yeah. There you go. So. Look at that. We booked it.
We booked it, yep.
Better than Tony Khan.
Oh, a million times better than Tony Khan. Better than Eric Bischoff, too.
And then Muda comes out and sprays them all.
Yes, because at this time, Muda still would have been around spraying everybody.
Oh, the Aaron Federation has invaded.
Oh, God. Well, we would do a better invasion angle than WWF did.
Anybody could do that.
like Muda sprays them all, and then it goes. Bam, bam, ba-da, da-da, 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 da-da. I don't know why it's the BWO's
Yeah.
theme music, but it's better.
So wait, it's Muda, Stevie, the Blue Meanie, and Supernova.
Yeah,
I
and
like
Muda's
him.
just spraying everybody.
With Blue Mist.
Jesus Christ.
The Blue World Order's taking over, Daddy.
Yeah.
Next up on my list, because they have always been one of my favorite tag teams. Definitely in my top 5. Booker T and Stevie Ray, the Harlem Heat.
Mhm.
And again,
You
yeah,
get
they were.
Sherry?
Yes, I get Sherry. But I don't want Colonel Robert Parker because those two together were not good.
Oh, come on.
Why would you not want Colonel Robert Parker?
No.
He's on my
If I
roster.
was,
You can't take him.
if I was getting a Bunkhouse Buck or a Dirty Dick Slater or even a Mike Enos, yes. But when he was with the Harlem Heat, he was just annoying with Cherry.
Oh man, my
You know?
fried pie. I gotta love that shit, man. I love
I like
Sherry
him
and Colonel Robert Parker.
But I could see the Harlem Heat again. If there was no NWO at the time, Harlem Heat, even though they won 10 tag team titles, but I just think that they would have been bigger in WCW and maybe wouldn't have been torn apart the way that they were if there was no NWO.
Mhm.
And with my federation, I would be booking them heavily in the tag team title division, because the Faces of Fear and Harlem Heat actually always produced great matches.
Oh, yeah.
And
I know a lot of people, like, obviously love Booker T, which they should, because Booker T was awesome.
But I love Stevie Ray too.
Yeah, Stevie Ray wasn't the worker of the group, but
He was the enforcer.
Yeah, and he was a great character.
Yep.
Like Stevie,
he was definitely
cut a great promo, and
he was the anvil.
Had a good presence about him and all that shit.
See what Nate just said? He was
the anvil to Booker's Hitman. Yeah.
Right. But see, if you remember the whole Booker T, we're coming to get you, Hogan's, promo.
Yeah.
That was back when Booker was still being very dirty and street, and you know what I mean? And then Booker started to mellow out and cut these real babyface, calm promos. Stevie stood in that heel gimmick even when they were faces.
Mm-hmm.
He still was all about, I'm getting you, sucker. I'm coming for you. You know what I mean? Then he started using the slapjack and taking people out without Booker knowing. So it's a good storyline of them fighting for the tag belts, and then maybe when they don't get there, Stevie turns on Booker. Instead of them just dissolving as a tag team for a little while.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't ever put him with Clarence Mason and Ahmed Johnson.
No, and definitely not with what was the guy's name? It was Big T,
that was Ahmed
Mason, and then there was the really, really big fat guy that came with the No Limit Soldiers.
Swole, Big Swole.
Yeah,
he was swole for sure.
Yeah.
What did they call Clarence Mason? Jay Biggs? Was that his?
Biggs, yep.
Yeah. God, that was fucking stupid. Anyway.
All I remember about Big Swole was he couldn't walk. He was so big. Look, I'm a heavy set guy. I waddle a little bit, but this guy literally couldn't take more than 4 steps without stopping and breathing heavy. It's like, why? Why would you even hire this guy? Who's supposed to be afraid of him? All I got to do is get a foot away from me and coming at me.
Yeah, he's many limits soldier.
Yeah. All limits.
All limits soldier.
Is Nate still there? Because he's gone on mine.
Yeah, he's here.
Okay, I'm going to jump out for a minute.
All right.
Okay.
Mark for deletion.
Yeah.
Delete.
Back to the Hardys again.
Yeah. I like how we got stuck with Aaron's hand. Looks like he's giving us the finger upside down.
Can you hear me now, Aaron? Oh, now he's just gone entirely.
Now he's just gone.
It's like, fuck these guys.
Nate, you need to stop telling me. You need to start telling me to stop buying stuff that I don't need. I just bought 3 elites for no reason, and I have them already. That's the thing of it. I just want them for like extra bodies and shit.
Well, I definitely wouldn't worry about your event not filling fast because
No, it's a big event. And it's WCC.
Well, and not just that, but there's actually I got in on a what's that fucking guy's? I don't even know what the group is. I'm in so many fucking groups. I don't even know what groups I'm
Is
in.
it Hestelo or something?
No,
like
no. It's not. It's that Josh Memorabilia dude.
Oh, okay.
He's got a green card 123 kit MOC up.
How much has you got up for?
I don't know. They were $10 a spot, so I got
Probably
a spot.
probably 1,200 or something like that.
And it's taken a while for that to fill
Yeah.
too. I think people are don't have money right now.
Yeah,
honestly,
I realize that. I was supposed to run it in Asylum, and then Gold posted his cheap heat, and then did a run back. And I was like, okay, this will close quick. It's a $150 raffle, and then it didn't close till 9 o'clock. So I had just threw it up in WCC at 5 o'clock. So
now can you hear me, Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should have heard all the bad things, Nate. You should have heard all the stuff Nate was saying about you.
I've already heard it. I gotta pee.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Yeah, so I was like, you know what? I'll just run it in WCC. And here's the crack up. I posted it, and like 30 minutes later, Josh Blevins was like, dude, why didn't you tell me you were going to post? I'm like, I did. I messaged you at 4 o'clock, and I said, are you running anything today? He's like, yeah, but you didn't tell me you were running. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, why would I even ask? Because I thought you wanted to buy into my event. I'm like, but you said no. I'm like, so therefore that meant you weren't running. He's like, yeah, but I just got a Scott Hall that I want to run. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, you'll have to wait.
Generally, what do I want to say? Generally, what price point are you looking at when you run
In WCC, I try to keep it at around $450. In Asylum, I know I could go past that because there are a little bit bigger of spenders at times in there. You know, so, but see, it all depends on what I have. Like, I have one other belt that I couldn't put in this event. It's that Triple H Signature Series, and that thing goes for like $550.
Right.
So that's where I'd be at as price point on that if I added that. But I wasn't adding that because the other belts don't factor in that price. And guys get real pissy sometimes when you give them a belt and a mystery box, even though the mystery box is filled with a bunch of other stuff. You know what I mean? I had one guy be like, keep the mystery box. I'm like, dude, you don't want a MOC figure and a shirt and a hat and a this. Like, oh, well, I didn't know all that was going to be. Like, well, what did you think I was going to put in there? A rock? You know?
Yeah.
He's like, well, no, but sometimes guys just like put 1 or 2 things in a mystery box. Like, I understand that, but I'm trying to make a value. You know, if I'm charging $550 and the belt I'm raffling is $420, I have to make up $130 value.
Correct. Yeah.
And Gold, here's the crack up. Gold, like, didn't bitch at me, but he's like, why do you do 2 winners sometimes and add a mystery elite? You know, I'll add a mystery MOC elite and give that to the second winner. I'm like, because if I'm running at 240 or 250 and the item I'm running at is only 220, I give the elite. He's like, yeah, but you're not making anything. I'm like, it's not about me making anything on the elite. It's about being fair and not having somebody say a week later, this guy screwed me.
Right.
You know, it's keeping my name clean.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. There's lots of guys that overdo it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, like that's why I'm willing to get in like that when I won that the Warlord and the Haku.
Right.
The LJNs. That's why I forget the Rubber Rumble. That's what that one's called. That group. That's why I'm willing to get into their events because they'll have, say, like a Sergeant Slaughter
called the Rubber Rumble.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's LJN figures.
Yeah, keep me away from the Rubber Rumble.
the dungeon dudes. The dungeon dudes go to the Rubber Rumble all the time.
Yeah,
all the time.
But like they'll have like the Slaughter Mail Away LJN.
Right.
But then and that'll be the main winner.
Right.
or whatever. But you can also choose this box, and then I know that is worth. I just like to know that what I'm getting is what's worth
Exactly.
it. You know, that person's not overcharging.
Well, see, that's what I learned.
I'm not going to let the rubber rumble slaughter my box.
That's funny. That's the one thing I took away from Era when I was there. I learned, but then I saw a couple of things being done shitty, and I never really said it. Like Dunk would run, and he'd be like, "Well, I got this figure, and it's a little messed up, but it still holds value." But then I won a couple times from Duncan, and then I got the figure, and I'm like, "This is a Lucy, basically, with a box around it."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's falling out of the box. So
Aaron's just Aaron's in a different. He's actually in a different world than we're in.
He's in the rubber rumble right now.
and there's a Lucy in his box, and
and a slaughter. You know. No, but like, and I messaged him one time.
This proves to me that Nate knows me better than him. Like Nate's known me longer than anybody else.
Right.
Obviously, he's known me all my life. But Nate knows exactly what I'm laughing about.
What?
Rubber rumble and Lucy in my box. Nate knows exactly what I'm laughing about.
No, but like I messaged him once, and I'm like, Dunk, you raffled this thing for $350, and it's got a crack where the foot is basically hanging out of the box. I'm like, it's not worth $350. He's like, well, you only won it for $5. I'm like, that's not the point. I'm only telling you so that you don't do it again. Because if it wasn't me, you'd have somebody bitching at you right now. I'm not bitching.
They benefit in that group a lot because I'm still in it.
Yeah.
They benefit in that group a lot with the fact that they have a lot of Kool-Aid drinking suckasses.
Right.
In that group.
Mindless sheep, I call them.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
a lot of that in there.
I told Pat that one day because he's like, I don't understand how half of the raffles I put up fill or Dunk fills. And there were a couple times I put up ones that weren't great value. And he asked, how did they fill? And I literally told him, I'm like, you guys don't seem to understand something. And I don't know why you don't see it because you're a lawyer. You're a this, you're a that. How are you not smart enough to see this? They're like, what are you talking about? Tell us what it is you see. I'm like, well, this is a wrestling group. But in reality, it's like a fraternity. And you've got a lot of members that are a part of the frat and then some guys that are outside watching in. And all they want to do is hang out with the cool kids. And when they get a chance to be in one of your raffles and you acknowledge them and say, hey, thanks, they think that they're a part of the group now. Or when you say, hey, this guy is cool because he did this, they think, oh, great, he's praising me. It has nothing to do with the figures. It has nothing to do with the price point. It has to do with them loving you.
Right.
And then they started to get it, but then they began believing in their own hype. You know what I mean? And now everything we do is great. It's all about family. But meanwhile, and I hate to bring this up because David always says, you're beating a dead horse, but I am. If everything they do is family, why would you wish me COVID and, try to get me proved as a scammer when I've never scammed anybody a day in my life?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me go. It's not like I did anything wrong to them.
It's very true. Yeah, it's very two-faced.
So,
I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, a lot of the groups that I'm in, I don't buy into anything. Right. I'm in there because they let me promote my shit.
Right.
And that's it. I mean, that's essentially it.
Exactly.
I warm up to these fuckers because they'll let me promote my shit.
Gold went off on me a couple of weeks ago or a month ago. I won the Top Heel Member of the Month. And they showed how many posts I had and, how much I talked and why I was getting the award and whatever. And I'm not going to lie, they sent me a lot of nice free stuff and whatever and got me free spots in raffles where I actually won pretty good shit. But Gold's like, you commented 444 times in their group and you made 150 posts in there and you barely do that in the asylum? I'm like, well, there's two differences. He's like, what? Like, one, I'm an admin in the asylum. You can't tell how many posts I made and how much I comment. Like, that's only for members. He's like, well, what's the other thing? I'm like, I was promoting our meet and greets.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's what you're not seeing. And I'm like, the other comments that are up there are because I was buying shit in their live shows. Like, you can comment 100 times during a live auction. It doesn't matter. It's like, oh. But he was so pissed. He thought I was, like, doing something wrong. Like, David, you have this fear I'm going to leave or something. I'm not leaving. I'm not going to join Tapio. Calm down.
He's got his blinders on a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. We just finished up Harlem Heat.
Yep. I have one team left.
All right. So round us out, Archie. Who is your last team in your wrestling organization?
Yes. Well, by this time, they were already making their way to the WWE, but they were still in ECW. And for the sheer downright hardcore factor, and because they then developed into an incredible tag team, I am picking the Dudley Boys. And this is not Little Snot and Big Dick and, Dances with Dudley and, Dudley. This is Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley.
And you get Joel Gertner. I'm going to let you have Joel Gertner because I love me some Joel Gertner.
I was taking Joel Gertner, and he is going to be my ring announcer.
Ah, there you go.
So he won't just be ring announcing for the Dudley Boys. He will be ring announcing for everybody.
The ladies call me Fred Flintstone because I make their bedrock Gertner.
So, in the grand scheme of everything, I've got Cornette booking. I've got the TNA factor with Tammy, Francine, one other woman Sherry.
She's the old guy. That's good.
Sherry was still good looking though.
Oh, I'm not saying nothing about.
I've got future bookers. I got future bookers and agents coming down the pipeline if need be. And I already have my world heavyweight champion picked out, tag team champions, and a secondary champion if need be if I decide to introduce one. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, because we are with 3 different companies, their major stars coming in. Welcome to Crossroads Championship Wrestling.
Say it again.
Crossroads Championship Wrestling. CRCW.
That works. I like it. Live from Cherry Hill.
Right.
Who's your world champ?
The Undertaker.
Tag team champs?
The Faces of Fear.
TV champ?
Shane Douglas.
Commentators?
Jim Cornette and myself.
Archie and James E. I like it.
And your stick man.
You mean my ring announcer?
Your interviewer.
Oh, my interviewer. It would still be Joe Gertner. He'd be a jack of all trades.
You know who I think you should use as your interviewer?
Who?
Joey Styles.
If I have Joey, I'm going to want him on the commentary desk, and I don't think him and Jim Cornette would get along.
True.
So.
But I like it.
You know what? I got it.
Okay.
I'd make Tammy my interviewer backstage.
That works.
She knows how to handle the stick.
Right. Exactly, Aaron.
And in all seriousness, she was always good at that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Said Shawn Michaels. Well, Archie, I like your 1998 roster.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to watch Crossroads Championship Wrestling.
What about you, Aaron? You tuning in?
I'll watch it. I want to see that action with Tammy working the stick. I want to see what comes from it.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my. All right.
Not being gross. I'm serious. I think that's a good roster. And I think growing from it, like, do you know what would be a great match out of your roster? And it could be like a serious, like, match to match feud. And I know you guys don't like 50-50 booking, but this could be a good 50-50 booking
Go for
feud.
it. Let's hear it.
50-50 booking is fine when it's not everybody.
Right.
This would be a great 50-50 booking feud. You know what it would be? Chris Candido and Ultimo Dragon.
I like that.
God damn.
I like
Watching
that.
those guys wrestling for like 8 weeks in a row would be fucking.
Yeah. But then I need Ono. Because he can combat Tammy.
Yeah. But
But she'd be beating the hell out of him in the corner. That would be the only difference.
yeah. Well, and he'd end up paying you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It, like Sonny, the talent would be paying you because it's like, hey, Sonny O's like fucking. Sonny's beating me off in the corner. I'll pay you, buddy.
Well, we lost Archie. The booker is gone, but that's okay because we're wrapping up anyway. Yeah, there he is. He's back now. There you are. All right.
Yeah, I know. Don't know what the hell happened.
That's all right.
He
We're
missed
wrapping
my-
up. Wrapping up anyway.
All right.
Sonny doesn't care if you wrap it up.
She'll take it.
Jesus. Archie's roster has become a hit piece on Tammy Sitch. Archie, good job.
Thank you, sir.
And do you guys have anything else to say before we sign off this week? I just know that next week, folks, I can tell you this. It's going to be one of two rosters, depending on, because our friend, our esteemed friend, Mr. David Gold, is a busy man.
Yes.
So if he can be with us next week, we will hear his roster from 1999. If not, we will just go ahead and do my roster from 1993. So that will be what you
saying
can.
is David Gold's unreliable.
He's the gold standard. Let's put it that way.
Of unreliability.
Oh, my God. Good night, everybody.
That being said, everyone, of course, check out WrestleNet Radio. If not, why not?
David Gold's a good dude. I was just mocking him a little
Just
bit.
busting balls. He gets it. We get it. Check out WrestleNet Radio. Like I said, if you have not, why not? It's 24/7, 365 wrestling talk. Check out Reliving the Extreme, the ECW podcast with the real star, Mr. Chad Austin. And I mean, on WrestleNet Radio, check out If You Smell What the Arch is Cooking.
Yes.
Check out Slice of Time. Check out The Year That Was, and check out the episodes that are going to be coming soon from the Tornado Tag podcast as well.
Yes.
We've worked out a deal with them. Their episodes will be airing on WrestleNet Radio. It just keeps growing, and we're happy to have you along. So thank you for joining us, everybody, this week on the We Can't Wrestle podcast, and we will see you next time around with another dream roster on the We Can't Wrestle podcast.
Good night, everybody.